Yeah.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the first of many upcoming interviews I have with some elite level professionals. I'm delighted today to be joined by Neil Pawley, who's an ex-British professional tennis player, who's now retired working as a full-time tennis coach. For those of you who don't know much about Neil, he won 5 ITF Pro Futures titles during his career. He won 4 10,000 events, and he won 1 15,000 event, including his biggest victory of his career, which was in the West Midlands in Tipton. And Neil also reached a career high rank of 406 on the 12th of August 2013. So Neil, welcome along.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, we're good today. Yeah, we're good. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. You ready to rumble?
Yes, let's go. Ready to go. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So I think the first thing we want to know about is really sort of your background, sort of your upbringing, and sort of where your passion for tennis all began, and sort of what any sort of fond memories you have from like the early stages of your like tennis.
Okay. Well, I first got into tennis with my brother actually, because he used to play county for Berkshire. That's the county we're from. I remember he used to do a bit of training after schools, just like a group coaching session. And I remember my mum used to take us both there, and I used to just sit on the side. There used to be like a little row of seats at the side where people can watch. This was the time at Bisham Abbey, and I used to just sit there for a couple of times a week and then not do anything. I was bored, so I think I was kicking the tennis ball around, trying to occupy myself. And then the coach one time, who was my first coach, who was Russian, Viktor Rubinov, his name was. He just said, "Here you go, here's a racket, and then come and join in." And I remember first hitting against the net. You hit it against the net, and it used to bounce back and that. And I remember just starting that out really to start with, and I really enjoyed it. I remember said to my mum, "Right, can I join in next week?" And then we asked Victor, and he said, "Yeah, come along, feel free to join in and carry on playing." And that's where it all started basically. I probably played about once a week at the start when I was 6 years old, and then as I got a bit older, the next year, a couple of years after, gradually increased the amount I was playing. Started taking a few individual lessons with Victor, still at Bisham Abbey, and then also joining in squads with my brother, with some of the older players, etc. So that's how it all started. Basically, that's how I first started. How I first got back into tennis and all that. So that's how it all started, really.
So you were what? Did you say about 6 when you started?
I was six. I was 6 when I first started. Yes, when I first started tennis. Yeah.
So what was like the light bulb moment where you realised, you know what, I could become a professional, and what were your next steps? Kind of what went off in your head where you're like, you know what, I actually could be pro?
I started doing. Well, I won the county closed, under 10s, under 12s, and then obviously at that age I started playing a lot more tournaments throughout the country, and I started beating a few other players that were supposed to be the top ones in the country from the ages of 12 to 14, and then around about 13, 14, that was when a bit of the LTA started to get involved. I used to do a lot of coaches conference where a lot of coaches would come. Victor would do a lot of drills to show them what we're doing at the time, etc. We used to show the coaches we should do these drills. These drills are quite good for these players' ages, etc. And a lot of coaches started to take quite interest in me and said, "Oh, you've got quite a lot of potential there. Like, got quite good ground strokes, etc. Quite a good athlete on the court." So probably about the age of 13, 14, that's when I really started to get more recognised through the LTA, and I thought, hang on a minute, if I put my head down and work hard on that, I could have a career in tennis. Because at the time I was still playing a bit of football for my school. We used to play for my school football team, and I think I remember a time there was a big tournament coming up in tennis. I think it was under 14s, and I had a football tournament at school, which was, I think it was either a midweek game against another rival school, and I got injured in that football match, and I had to pull out of the tennis tournament because I badly hurt my ankle. I think someone badly tackled me. I sprained my ankle quite badly, and then that was the decision where I thought, okay, I'm going to go full time into tennis. I'm not going to concentrate on doing other sports. along the way. So that was a light bulb moment to really open my eyes to really go, okay, I'm going to really give it a go at full-time tennis here. And that was the age of 14. And then from then on, started to play abroad in some junior tournaments. I started playing some ETAs under 14, and then obviously ITF tournaments along the way, and then obviously finishing up in men's. That's why I carried on going. Really, that was my passion when I started at 14 up until now.
Mm-hmm. Before we touch on kind of when you got to the men's and kind of the pro side of it, so what do you think was your most notable kind of junior tournament success? Like, what's the one you think really kind of sticks in your mind in terms of a junior level?
Well, I didn't play many ITFs as I first came onto the scene when I was quite young, but I did do the first few tournaments I did play. I actually went to Denmark. I think it was a grade either grade 4 or 5. I can't remember which grade it was, but I actually won that event. Beat a couple of quite decent Dutch guys that were ranked quite good at the time, and then obviously that is when I really got a bit of confidence. And then I played a couple of grade 3s. Junior grade 3s, and actually did well in those tournaments. And then when I really started to play well was when I was about 2 years young, so I was about 16 at the time. I played a grade 2 in Luxembourg, and it was quite a strong field. I had to play qualifying, which I qualified for that event, and I went all the way to the semi-finals, beating a couple of guys ranked about 100 in the world junior ITF. So that was when it all really came together, really. That's why I got a lot of confidence from those sort of tournaments. And then that pushed me on in the future, really, for the upcoming events after that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And so who do you think were like the coaches and the people around you who probably held the most sort of significance in your career from junior up to pro? And what did you enjoy the most in your training sessions? Like what sort of structure did you like in your training sessions? What did you enjoy the most when you went to training?
I liked quite a lot of basket drill kinds of sessions. I mean, when I had Victor, the Russian coach, Victor Rubinov, my coach, I had him all the way when I was 6, all the way until I was pretty much 17. So I was a long time with that same coach. So he got to know me as a player and a person, and I got to know him, etc. So we did a lot of the same drills, a lot of just simple drills, simple like cross court and a couple of shots, and then as soon as I got the right opportunity, I was taking that shot on down the line, because I wasn't really kind of like a drop shotty, like a slice kind of player, like a creative player. I was more like a hard hitting, strong from the baseline, trying to get the first strike in the rally, trying to dictate. So we did a lot of drills around that, really. So I was with him from the age of 6 till 17, and then that was all at Bisham Abbey still. And then I still stayed on at Bisham Abbey. They had a pro academy there at the same time, which was under Mike Walker. That was Win Tennis. So they had a lot of players there, which were the same age as I were. So 1990, and then they had a couple of players younger, 1991, 1992, that were also very strong. So that was actually a very good training base for me to actually still have the individual lessons with Victor, and also play competitive practice sets matches with the Win Tennis Academy players. So I was kind of practicing with a lot of different styles of players. And also when I was with Victor at the time, I also trained a lot with Marcus Willis, because we were very good friends. He probably joined Victor and his setup when he was probably about 11 years old. So we were through together from 11 till 17. Now Marcus is quite an unorthodox player. He's like a typical lefty, like didn't really hit the ball hard, but quite a crafty player, like always using slice, not only off his backhand, but also on his forehand. So that kind of got me to get used to playing lefties and also players that were quite awkward in a way. So I kind of had all the hard hitters and the normal style tennis players you would get with playing with Win Tennis players. And also when I was playing with Marcus, it was a bit like, hang on a minute, he's not like a normal, typical player. So I was getting a different variety of playing standards. So that probably helped me out on the tour also when I got older, how to deal with different kinds of players and all that. So, and then going forward, just had a I got offered to join the program at the National Tennis Centre with the federation to train there. So when I was 18, trained with the federation for a few years with some very good coaches. The one that sticks out to me was the Swedish guy, Magnus Tiedman. He was one of the coaches at the National Tennis Centre that looked after us for those few years. And he was a very good coach. I mean, wasn't really big on the technical side of things, but he was more about like tactical. You need to hit the ball, another ball cross court, like very simple drills. And he never liked it. I remember if you missed a slice, he would go absolutely crazy because the slice was a shot where he would say like you should never miss a slice. So whenever we were playing, if he missed a slice, he would always shout at us, etc. So he was not big on, like I say, not big on technical stuff. He didn't really want to change anything technical. It was all about how you're going to play, how you're going to win the points. But he was a very popular coach with a lot of the players that trained at the federation. And going forward, the LTA didn't renew his contract with the LTA, so he parted ways, and then they brought another coach in, etc. So, so the coaches go. Yeah, so I was lucky to work with some very good coaches along the way.
Was your least favourite part of the training sessions probably the technical side of it? Did you not enjoy that so much, or? Yeah,
not so really technical, because I've got long arms. I've got long legs, long arms. So a lot of coaches always felt like I needed to shorten my take backs on my foot, especially my forehand side. I mean, I had a big forehand technique, but a big forehand swing. But I always said that I don't often time the ball that late. I'm normally contacting the ball where I need to contact it, you see. So I remember Victor was listening to a few of the LTA coaches at the time when I was quite young, so maybe about 15, 16. And they said that, okay, you've got to try and shorten his take back. It's going to be too big for the men's game. He's not going to have time to hit the ball properly. It's going to be always like reacting to their shots rather than him hitting his shots. But we tried it for a little bit, but I didn't feel comfortable. It didn't really work for me. So we kind of thought, okay, I've got a big swing. Let's just deal with that. Let's just think about maybe, I don't know, court position, where you're going to be standing on the court, where you can still have a big swing and still contact the ball, etc. And we tried some stuff, but I didn't feel that comfortable. So we just kept the swing how I felt it should be. Mm-hmm. So we didn't do that much technical stuff really. I'd say the serve. I remember the serve when I was young. I used to copy Richard Krajicek's serve. My coach Victor at the time was quite fond of his serve. He had such a fluent technique. It was so like it looked so easy when he was hitting the ball. So we kind of copied. We had a lot of videos of him serving and me trying to copy his action, his ball toss. What he does with his right foot, he brings it like a step up to his left foot. So we kind of built my serve around Richard Krajicek's serve at the time, and the forehand we just kept the same really. Kept it how I liked it, and that was it really.
Perfect. I mean, you move quite well for a big guy as well, so that kind of allows you to maybe have a slightly bigger swing. And as you said, you were making contact a lot of the time. So why tinker with it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm quite lucky. I'm quite flexible, you see. So especially my hips and back and all that, I could move quite. I'm quite quick around the court. You see, I could get into like low positions without really struggling to put too much pressure on the body. My body felt natural to move in those sort of areas. So I'm quite fortunate to not really get too many injuries in like the hips and the back, etc. So
you'll be on Strictly Come Dancing soon, won't you?
I don't know about that.
Cool.
Sure, we'll see.
So I wanted to ask, how did you find sort of early life on tour? Was it easy to take your eye off the ball? Like when you went to new places, new cultures, met new people, was it quite, were you quite distracted?
I'd say not too distracted. I mean, it was a lot easier in juniors than it is in men's, because juniors, we always used to travel as a team, you see. So we'd have familiar faces around with people we know. We feel more comfortable. Like we wouldn't have to. We'd already have our days set out with who we're going to hit with because we had a team around us, so we could organise that easily. But when I went into men's, it was a lot more difficult because sometimes there'd be no other British players there. And there'd be actually difficulty. I found a couple of tournaments. Sometimes nobody wanted to even practice with me. I'll go there and ask like the whole tournament, would you want to practice? Do you want to do this and that? Everyone was like, no, sorry, I'm already sorted. And because you're on your own, you're always having to find ways to practice, to get to places, etc. So you kind of had to make friends while you were there, but kind of they're your enemies really in a way, because you might be playing them the next day in the tournament. So you don't want to get like too friendly with them, but you want to kind of keep on their side a little bit so they get to know you. So if you do see them again, they're like, oh, hi, how you doing, Neil? Let's practice here, whatever. Or do you want to share a room this week, etc. And that's what I found along the way is you bump into very familiar faces where you've seen throughout the years and tournaments that you've played before. Everyone knows each other, so it all became like quite a friendly atmosphere. And that it was easy to practice, easy to travel. I mean, I travelled from a couple of tournaments with foreign players where we had to get to one tournament to go to another country. They were on the same list to play, so we used to travel together, etc. But yeah, always easier having a fellow countryman playing the same tournaments. It becomes a lot easier to organise stuff around the tournament, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
did you have any sort of personal struggles? Anything you found as difficult when you were sort of away at first, or anything like that? Was there any sort of things you found quite tough?
Not. I say not really, because I quite like traveling. You see, because I quite like seeing new places, and the only down thing is you're basically living out of a suitcase, basically. So you go from like tournament to tournament. You're not seeing your family much, and all your friends. So you're kind of going from tournament to tournament, hotel to hotel. You don't have much time to see your family out. So whenever you can, that's why that time is special. When you do come back, you can kind of catch up with everyone. But I didn't find it too difficult at the time, because I just love playing tennis. Really, I love playing tournaments, and I love traveling. Yeah, so just if I could, still like to compete week in, week out at that time.
That's really good. Did you ever find those periods of time where maybe you've been on a bit of a bad run, or you hadn't quite got your form, and you find yourself bouncing tournament to tournament, maybe not winning as much as you'd like? Does that grind on you after a while if you get into that sort of rut, if you like?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, confidence is the big thing in tennis. I mean, if you got low confidence, it's going to be difficult to try and transfer that on the match court. And if things are not going well on the match court, if you want to be able to, because most of the time I travelled without a coach, you see, so I was kind of doing it on my own, trying to review matches by myself and that. And sometimes you can't see the bigger picture doing it by yourself. So you might not pick up on a few things, but like I say, when you go tournament to tournament, that's the only down thing. If you're not playing many matches, the weeks can become very long. You might play one or two matches that week, and then you've got to wait a full week until you play another match the next week. So it's quite tough to keep your confidence high, especially because you want to be confident when you play matches. Really, you don't want to keep losing week in, week out, and then it's going to be difficult to perform. So, and you've got a lot of pressure, don't forget, as well, because you're paying the money to travel to get out there. And if you're not performing, you're not really getting rewarded. So it puts a bit more pressure on you to actually perform when you're at those tournaments.
Yeah. Did you ever used to sort of feel that pressure quite high? Was there moments where you're like, you could just, it was really magnified in terms of, like you being in the middle of a match and you just, you feel it, just it's very in your face?
Yeah, I mean, it has been now. I mean, there were times when I trained at the National Tennis Centre. We had like ranking targets to make to keep our funding, etc., to be able to play tournaments, to get help from the LTA. And there was a time where I must have been about 20 years old, and my favourite service was indoor hard court, because that's the surface I played a lot on as a junior now, and that's my most comfortable surface. And I remember the LTA wanted me to go away for 4 weeks to play on clay. And at the time I was thinking like, I hadn't had much experience on clay before, really. So I wasn't really having my hopes that high or that confident on that surface. And I remember I can't remember where we went to Poland for a couple of weeks, and Serbia. and that was obviously in my schedule. They thought that was better for me to play those sort of tournaments to try and help me basically play on clay, different surfaces and that. But in the meantime, we had a ranking target to meet, and I was thinking, if I don't feel comfortable on that sort of surface, surely it's going to put a downfall on me trying to get that ranking target, because I'd rather play if I've got a ranking target to make, I want to be playing on my favourite surface, the tournaments that best suit me. You see, so they thought it was better to play on a bit of clay for game development, but those sort of weeks, and I remember those tournaments. I didn't really do that well. I think I maybe won a match here or there. It didn't really do that well, and I kind of came back from it thinking, even if it was for my game development, I've lost 4 tournaments. I've lost a month to try and get more points where I could have got in another tournament, which suited me better. So that then after that, I put a lot more pressure on me, thinking, right, in these next couple of tournaments, then I've got to really perform to try and maybe catch up on some points that I've lost in that time. So that's when you're obviously playing with a lot more pressure then, and yeah, exactly, because getting funding can obviously help fund you play tournaments, which helps me try and achieve my goals and that, get my ranking up. Because without the funding, it would have been tough to play, to be honest.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, pressure's an interesting one, isn't it? Because some people perform better with it, and some players are very clever at taking pressure off themselves, and they like that. I just wondered, where would you put yourself on that category?
I kind of didn't. I liked going into matches where I was the underdog. I performed better when I had no pressure, because I felt like I could swing a lot easier. I could go for my shots a bit more, and knowing that he was a favourite on paper, he should beat me because he's got a better ranking than me, etc. So that was when I went in playing players that were obviously with a better ranking. They've got all the pressure. There's no pressure on me. I could just go out and be nice and relaxed, just take it easy. Really, there was no stress, no drama, and that's when I felt I performed a lot better. Obviously, playing with pressure, it's a difficult one, because when you know you can hit a certain shot and you've got that pressure and you can't quite make the same shot, it's definitely a lot harder. So it's a difficult one to be in, difficult situation. But I think it's one of those ones where, I don't know, it comes with experience. I think the more you've been in that situation, the easier it is to deal with. Because obviously when you're first starting on tour, your ranking's not as high as the others. So majority of the matches, you are going to be the underdog. You're not going to be the favourite to win a lot of matches, you see, because you're playing guys ranked higher than you. But obviously, when you've been doing it for a fair few years, etc., and you're doing well in tournaments, and your ranking not suddenly shoots up, and you're getting seeded in tournaments, etc., and all of a sudden you're the favourite to do well here. You're like the number 4 seed. You should really make it through to quarters, semis, maybe even pushing on to finals. Then you kind of got to back up what your ranking says, what your ranking is saying. Then you got a lot more pressure to deal with. But it's different ball game with pressure, I tell you, because I remember a coach once said to me, never judge players in practice, because in practice there's no pressure. I remember Magnus, he took us on Magnus Tiedman, who I mentioned earlier, a Swedish coach. He took us on an LTA trip to Turkey, and the draw had just come out. We were looking at who we were playing, and a couple of our opponents were practicing, and we were like, oh, Jesus Christ, these guys took $1 million. They're not missing any balls, hitting balls so hard. Everyone looks like, God, it's going to be a tough match. And this Magnus guy said, never judge a player in practice, because once there's pressure, you'll see totally different shots. And that always stuck with me, that did. Yeah, I always remember that, because when you always look at players in practice, there's no pressure. Everyone can hit every shot. They make it look so easy. And then as soon as there's a little bit of pressure, then you'll find out in reality what their shots are really like. And that's always stuck me. Throughout my career, I always thought, okay, don't judge players by practice. Always see what they're like in important points in the match. And that always stuck by me.
100%. So true, that, isn't it? Even if you look at juniors these days, you can see some 12-year-olds who look phenomenal, and then get them in a match situation and they're really struggling. So
definitely.
So that's very that's sort of widespread across tennis, that kind of rule, isn't it? Just don't ever build anybody up too much until they're in a match.
No, yeah, exactly.
So it must make you really admire the guys, sort of the top 10 in the world, because you must think, man, those guys, the things they can do under immense sort of that crazy pressure.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're another level, aren't they?
Yeah.
They can deal week in, week out. They can't just do it. They don't just do it every other tournament. They're consistently doing it. So for all the pressure they're under to perform at that level against high quality players that's something different. That is something else. That is, yeah.
Yeah, it's madness. I guess there's other little like pitfalls you can fall into as a pro as well. I'm sure you might have experienced this. Is when you're in a tournament, you look at the draw, and you see, I've got quite a decent route through this tournament. This could be quite a nice draw for me.
Yeah,
and then that's another trap, isn't it? Because you kind of preempt where you might be after 2 matches or something like that, and you maybe think, I can easily beat this guy, or I'm sure I can beat this guy. But there's those little traps, isn't there? You have to be careful of.
Yeah, it's difficult. That's the thing. You don't want to get, because I'm going to say the lower level tournaments like futures and that, anyone could beat anyone on anyone's stage. I think there's such, obviously you can still get highly ranked players playing, but anybody ranked 1,800, they can still go and beat those guys. So I mean, I've seen players before look at draws and they're like already looking into the second round, who they're going to play in the quarters. Like you say, semis going onwards, saying, okay, I should make semis here with my draw. But anyone on their day, you just got to be careful with every player really, because anyone can play good tennis, and you just got to take it one match at a time. You don't want to get too far ahead of yourself. Yeah, one match at a time, and that's it really, match by match, and then go from there really, because
otherwise you end up putting like stupid pressure on yourself.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
It's pointless.
And then when you're like a set and a breakdown, you think, hang on a minute, I'm already in the second round. This is first round. You're like, what's going on here? It's like, yeah, you're in some trouble there, aren't you? So that's difficult situation.
What are your most enjoyable moments on tour? Could include any favourite wins, any trips to like certain parts of the world, maybe a certain group of friends you made. Is there any sort of like what your most enjoyable moments were?
I quite liked. It was I remember a match that always stands out to me when I played Berankis. He was world number 1 juniors. I played him in Yucatan, Mexico. It was my first ever night match. It was not before 1 a.m. So it was going to be under floodlights, and they bring in a big crowd to come and watch it. They all come out and watch. And I remember he was world number 1 at the time. I played him second round. And I actually played really well, and I lost 6. It was a long match actually. I lost 6-4 in the third, but the level of tennis we both played actually was unbelievable. Really, it was such a high quality match, and even though I lost that match, I still took a lot from it. And of course, my first ever night match. I mean, I was like, "What's this? What do I do?" I was thinking, "What do I do during the day?" I mean, because you like normally you get up early, you practice, have breakfast normal and that, and you play your match like lunchtime, mid afternoon, whatever, but I wasn't playing before 1 a.m. So I was like, what do I do? So you're sleeping late. I didn't practice till about 8 o'clock in the evening. So it was so different. So that was
crazy,
first, that was like a first standout thing for me really. And then the second one really was winning my first title really, in Germany. I remember it's just a small place really. I remember it was a 3-court carpet court club in a small town of Germany, Hambach it was. And, I played qualifying there at the time, and I quite liked the surface carpet. So had a couple of very good wins. I think I remember winning my final against, I think he was the number 1 seed in the final. He was something like 300 in the world, maybe 280. He was ranked at the time. German player, quite well experienced. I remember that again, that was a big crowd brought in there to watch, and winning that one really. That was my first ever title to get me the first win. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday, really. That match. So it's like unbelievable looking back on it now. Yeah, the memories.
You don't forget your wins, do you? Don't forget.
No, never forget those.
Championships, or whatever. You don't.
No, they always stay with you. Those ones, yeah.
And what about like a favourite city? Was there any sort of particular place you liked the most when you on your travels?
I travelled a lot around Europe. I mean, Italy was always a good one. Italy was very nice with all the food and that, and the temperature there. You always got nice weather and that. It was always good. There was always good clubs. America, I love playing in America. That was also a nice place to play in. You get such big cities and that, such big centres and that, and you get such support there from all the crowd. They're so loud out there. It's like a different atmosphere to when you play here in tournaments. That was always very enjoyable playing out there in the States. Yeah, just a lot in Europe, really. Yeah, so I did a South America tour when I was in juniors. That was different because that's the first time I really went over that way to play, and that was different over there. That was very different, and that was the likes of like Paraguay and Uruguay and Brazil. So that was exciting there. Yeah, so quite a few places really. I quite enjoyed going. Yeah.
Sounds like you don't really have one. You've just got a couple.
I don't know. I've got a couple. Yeah, I don't have really one that stands out. No, I've got a few that I quite like. Yeah.
That's cool. There doesn't need to be one stand up, does there? Especially when you travel, you're gonna, it's just.
It's always gonna be tough to pick one. It's always gonna be tough to pick one out of that. Yeah.
That's what's so nice about traveling, isn't it? It's always going to be a little bit different wherever you go.
Always going to be different. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So talking of sort of going from the playing then into like the coaching, was coaching just like did you had it in your mind that you wanted to move into coaching, or did you just kind of you fell into it? Kind of what was the thinking behind moving into coaching?
I always said once I stopped playing tennis professionally, I always wanted to go into coaching. I always wanted to stick into tennis because that's where my passion was. I've done it all my life, and I always wanted to be involved in the sport by being a coach. So that was kind of something that I had planned. Yeah, when I stopped playing, so that was always going to be on the cards. Yeah.
Do you have any? Obviously, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Do you have any sort of regrets as such when you look back and you go, anything you might have changed, or? And with that, would you have any advice to what advice would you give sort of young aspiring pros who are thinking about going pro? What's your thoughts?
I would say, I don't know if I regret it. I don't know if I look back and if I regret it, because a lot of players when they first come out of juniors going into men's, it's very tough to really get quite quickly up the rankings because it's so different from juniors to men's. I mean, I would say coming from a highly ranked junior, don't have too high expectations that you're going to move quickly into the men's game and do well straight away, because the men's is such a different ball game to juniors. I mean, because I was ranked something like 50 in the world, 52 or something, 57 in the world juniors. You kind of have this high expectation that as soon as you play men's tournaments, you're going to do just as well as you did in juniors. It's going to be like a quick process. You're going to move up the rankings, but it's a totally different ball game. You're coming up against players that have been older. They've been playing those tournaments for like 4 or 5 years, so they're well experienced. And you just come out of juniors thinking you're going to be the next big thing. So I'd say don't set your sights too high, because you do need experience. But I think nowadays, going down the American university route, I think that's a very good route to go down nowadays. I think a lot of players are going for that route. As you can see, Cam Norrie did it. I mean, because obviously when you're 18, you're not really ready to go on the men's tour straight away. So going to American university, you get to work on your game a lot. You play a ton of matches, which is going to benefit you greatly. And it gives you time to mature. It gives you time to understand your game fully. So I'd say, probably nowadays, I'd say look to go down that route, because I know a lot of players that are going down that route and they're being more successful. We're seeing a lot more players that have gone down that route, breaking through to the top 100, to the top 50 in the world. So I'd say that's a very good route to go down. Yeah, keeps you in education as well. So, because obviously when you're just starting out, you put a lot of pressure on yourself straight away to do well. And you're not quite ready, in my opinion, nowadays. I mean, you got to be so dedicated, and that you got to be so mature and get that experience to play on the tour, even from an early age. So, going down the college route is a good option, I'd say, for a lot of players coming through. To definitely keep that option open. Going forward.
Do you think maybe looking back you would have considered going that route, or
I think looking back probably would have at least tried it, at least gave it a go to see, because you never know what could happen. Because obviously it's tough going straight, like I said, it's very tough going from straight juniors into men's. You're not mature enough, you're not ready. So going down that route, probably would have maybe tried going down that route, and then gone on from there. Really, see what it could have brought, and that.
That's good. No regrets, and I don't think you should have.
So not,
you know,
no, it's not really regrets. No, I tried it all really. I mean,
Yeah.
no, just I don't know really. I left it all out there really. Gave as good as I got really. So had a few injuries along the way, which anyone does, but I managed to bounce back from them. So no regrets really. No, just probably. I know you work with him now, Matt Smith, but I wish I would have worked with him when I was a lot younger. Because I felt I gelled with him. I felt he was a fantastic coach. I mean, he was the first coach that I really understood my game. If you get me, like I really understood how I was playing as well. Because a lot of coaches, yes, they're tactical, but I didn't. When I was growing up, I didn't really know how I was winning my points, like what my overall game style was like, what patterns of play I should be using, what I want to try and avoid, what kind of shots I want to go for, but. It wasn't until I worked with Matt that I really understood that this is how I'm going to play my tennis. This is what my rallying ball should be. This is where I should be standing on the court, like my positioning. So it went into that much finer detail. And I'm going to say the coaches I had previously, even though they were good at other areas, when I worked with Matt, he was so specific in what we were doing. We were trying to squeeze every percentage out of what I could do to make it even better. I wish I would have worked with him years ago in my career. Yeah,
that's cool. So do you think one thing maybe if you could have had it was actually having a coach with you the whole time from the beginning? Do you think that's a massive advantage for guys who have got coaches with them from like day dot?
Yeah, definitely. I think it just gives you someone else there to support you, just someone else to help you, guide you, like give you feedback. Because doing it by yourself is very tough. Yeah, you don't always see everything when you're playing yourself.
No, of course not.
You think like in certain points, you did the right thing there. But obviously, if you've got someone watching from the sideline, they can say, "Hang on a minute. If you look at where you were playing that shot from, etc., why did you go here instead of there? You need to move." You get a different view on it, and it's only going to be a bonus, really. But the only thing is the cost of having it. That's the only real issue, really. If it's traveling by yourself it's financial difficult anyway. Tennis is an expensive sport, especially there wasn't that many tournaments in the UK at that time. So I had to then fly abroad to play in the tournaments, which you're paying for your airfare, the hotel, food out every night, etc. So if you want to travel with a coach, it's much more expensive. So not many players can afford to do it that way, really. But it's definitely the right way to go. Yeah, definitely.
Got it. So yeah, that's cool. We're going to come in some sort of fun questions now, just to give the viewers a bit more of a chance to kind of get to know your personal tastes, sort of away from the tennis side of things.
Okay.
So let's go through a few of these. So, you ready?
I'm ready for it. Yeah.
All right. Favorite meal?
Ooh, got to have a good steak and chips or a Sunday roast. Yeah, either of those two is very good. Yeah.
I know you like a KFC as well.
Every now and again is a treat day,
Yeah, if you said that was your favourite meal, I'll definitely be a bit worried. Beach or city?
City.
You got to be careful with this one. Blonde or brunette?
Brunette. Only because my girlfriend's brunette, Becky.
Cat or dog?
Dog. It's got to be. Yeah.
Favorite band?
Ooh, it's a good question. Quite like a bit of U2, actually.
Classy choice. Any particular favorite song?
I don't have a favorite, actually. No, I don't know
really
a favorite. No, there's a lot of good ones. Yeah.
Okay. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the wheel, yes or no?
No, I'm not a fan. It's got to go, surely. It's got to go.
Well, actually, I'm not aware of the result at the moment. Do you know what's happening?
They were 2-0 down. That was earlier when I looked earlier. But
they were 2-0 down?
Man United were 2-0 down. So it's probably more now. So I don't know what it is now. So unless it's Ronaldo that's got his eye in. So we'll see.
I don't know if they can keep getting these get out jail free cards courtesy of his players. I think it's got to be on him, isn't it?
I think it's got to be, with the quality they've got now on the side, it's got to be, I think they've got to get someone else in now to to take over. And I think the players are starting to feel it as well. They're not really backing him. So I think time for a change there.
Okay, favorite tennis player ever?
It's got to be Federer.
Yeah,
it's got to be. Just how he is, how he plays. Like, yeah, I don't think there's going to be another player like him ever. So yeah, he's the one. He's one of my favourites. Yeah, for sure.
Favorite pastime? What's your favorite pastime?
Favorite pastime? Got to be. It's a good question, actually. Let me just think. Favorite pastime? It's got to be winning the first tournament, and it got to be winning the first pro title, and meeting my girlfriend. Probably got to keep her happy.
What would be your favorite hobby outside of tennis? If once you finish coaching, weekend comes, what do you like to do? What's a nice
Probably golf,
hobby?
Golf I quite like playing. Yeah, I like playing a lot of golf at the moment. Yeah, so that's the sport I'm also interested in at the moment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so final one. So if you could have any tennis player's shot, past or present, which shot would you have? And I kind of think I already know the answer to this now. So if you could pick any shot of any past or present player.
I don't know, because...
Should we exclude Richard Krajicek's serve? Because
it's got to be Richard Krajicek. But I would take someone like... I'll take an even bigger serve. I'll take either Isner's serve or Karlovic's serve. Because if you have that sort of weapon serve, it's unbelievable. It's such a big advantage. You imagine serving from that height and the amount of speeds they're serving as well. I mean, that, let alone that shot, that can get you to top 100 just with that shot. But so when you add in, if you keep the ground strokes the same, then obviously, you got a good game there. But the serve is, that's the key.
So you just won your first pro title. Okay, you got a bit of money in the bank. You paid your expenses, right? You're on eBay. You're looking for a new serve. You got Karlovic's and Isner's both being listed on the marketplace. Who's you taking?
I would take. Let's go for Isner.
Probably a good choice.
Isner we go for.
I think people say his is a bit less readable, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't know, but it looks more fluent. If you get me, it's like more simple technique. Karlovic was a little bit like he swayed back a lot and that, and also had good momentum. But Isner's was just kept it look quite simple, wasn't it? The technique and that, so made it look easy.
I think Isner can hit different spots as well. I think if you've seen some players have really got hold of Karlovic's serves and done like a job on him. Obviously, not many players can do that, but I just feel like it's harder to do that with Isner's.
Yeah.
So it's probably quite a good choice. All right. If there's anyone you want to mention, sort of sponsors, partners, anyone you want to thank, then feel free.
Okay. Just the LTA along the way, all their support and their help. Wilson, Dunlop, I was with. All the clothing sponsors, Mizuno, I was with a lot of years throughout my career. All the coaches along the way, Sir Getty, they helped me out a lot towards the end of my career of stringing technology. And that's it really. So big thanks to all of them, for all their support and help along the journey. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, listen, thanks for, I won't take any more of your time. Thanks for giving me your time in the first place. And hope the questions were good.
No, thanks a lot. Yeah, very good. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me on.
I'm sure we can speak again in the future.
Yeah, perfect. Sounds good. Yeah, definitely.
Nice one. Cheers, Neil. All the best.
All right. Thanks a lot, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.